Hello, World of Tank Blitzers. It's a Littlefinger. Hey, going to be doing a full tank review here on the T69. This is an American medium tier 8 tank with an auto reloader. And this was a request to do this video. And in doing this, I think I'm going to focus mainly about playing auto loaders, but obviously there'll be specifics on how to get the most out of this tank. So first, let's jump in and look at the tech tree, and we're down here at the bottom here at the T69. So you've just come from the T71, obviously a light tank with a lot of mobility, and the first introduction really to the auto loader in the American line. And we move into the T69, which is a lot slower, a lot bigger of a tank. So you have to keep that in mind. Also, you're going to start out with a tier 6 gun that is just god-awful. So make sure you have enough free EXP to buy that tier 8 gun. Pen on this gun is not great either, which is why you definitely want to upgrade before going into any battles. You can compete in this tank with lesser engines, but if you can, upgrade those as fast as possible. And so we move into the consumables and setup here. Repair kit, multi-purpose, and engine power boost. Provisions running the cola, the improved fuel, and the bottle of cola. Ammo, you can see I'm 27, 12, and 3. These are set up in increments of 3 because of the autoloader. You may want to try taking 6 and a little less AP, but you can see at 43 to 47, we just don't have a lot of pen in HE, so not a lot of opportunities outside of maybe some RHMs and some Scorpions and some stuff like that where you would have the opportunity to shoot HE. And these days with the spall loader on everything, it's like, why even bother sometimes? And then, of course, the equipment. We've got calibrated shells. We've got defense system, improved optics, enhanced gun lane drive, the improved assembly, engine accelerator, vertical stabilizer, toolbox, and consumable delivery system. All right, guys, here's blitzstars.com. Just doing a quick comparison. Probably the best non-premium autoloader in the tier 8 medium realm is the P44 Pantera, which is why I've got that first. We've got the Pershing, STA, Indian Panzer, then Centurion, all as comparisons, and none of these are premium tanks, obviously, as we're looking at a tech tree T69. We do have very nice damage per minute number on this tank, which means that we've given up something somewhere else, and that's going to be your penetration number at 173. And you look at how much lower that is than some of these other tanks at 30% here on the Centurion Mark 1. So keep that in mind, guys. Premium is heat, not the best, and you're going to need it. So we've got the 3-shell auto loader, just straight auto loader at 2.5 seconds between shots, whereas the Pantera has the active auto reloading system, which kind of has a variable reload there. 914 is your shell velocity, right in line. It's nothing horrible at all. Weapon handling is quite nice at 1.18 with a 0.326 dispersion. Fits right in line here with these other tanks, and 9 degrees of gun depression. So keep that in mind. Especially the American tanks are known for having good gun depression. Right in the middle here with the speed at 52 kilometers per hour. It's certainly not a fast medium tank, but if you look at some of the other tanks here, it does kind of outperform them a little bit. However, power to weight ratio is a little bit on the low side, so it does take time for this tank to get up to top speed. And then just wanted to point out the turret armor here at 152 is pretty good. Only other comparison there would be the Centurion with a little bit better, and the hull at 102. But keep in mind, you're going to get penned quite easily in this tank, and so we'll see that here on Armor Inspector. And you notice how the armor on the top of the turret here changes based upon, this whole moving the turret up and down. So you'll see a lot of people that try to maybe raise their gun a little bit while they're in that long reload if there's a chance of them getting shot at. But you can see here, there's not a lot you can do to hide the side cheeks and underneath the gun barrel there. You do have some sloped armor at the front. Looks to be about 219 effective. But really, unless you're getting super hull down, there's not much you can do to make this tank any much more, kind of impenetrable at this point in time. It's really about using positioning, using the gun accuracy, and the burst damage. And we'll talk about that here as we go through some replays. All right, guys, so let's jump into some battles here and just talk about the T69 and the autoloader. And one of the things I thought was probably best was to learn by an example of what not to do. So here we are on Castilla, and I feel like Castilla is one of those few maps that it is critical that your team actually splits up. Oftentimes, if the heavies come onto this side, the light med side, then you can win the battle. But very few times if everybody goes heavy side, because there's so many sniping spots from up top of the Castilla area. So as you can see, I am pushing up to the Castilla, and I thought that I had support with me here in the form of the Centurion in the medium, who you see here on the mini map is just now rounding the corner. I figure he's a little bit slow out of the gate. We've spotted up the FV, but here's my point. I should have stopped right there, and I should have waited for the Centurion for support, but I am being overly aggressive in an autoloader. And why is that a problem? Well, because I have a 12.5-second reload after I empty my clip. So we've spotted up the T54 and gonna be able to thankfully get 3 shots into him. But as you can see, it's put me now in a predicament because I have an FV. I'm calling for help, but if you look at the mini map, Centurion still has not moved. So here we are going through this reload, and of course, why should I need to aim in on an FV? It's a light tank. So we're gonna get 5 shots in, and we're gonna go down. And let's take a look on our help here. Yeah. So this guy is doing a completely wrong way to side scrape off of a building. He's showing his entire lower hull. And yeah, obviously, if I'd have had his gun in that battle with my head start on the T54, would have been a totally different story. But nonetheless, we do manage to actually win this game. No thanks to this guy who only does 1 shot of damage. But that, I thought, was an interesting example of what not to do in the autoloader. All right, guys, so here's the second game. And this one's a little bit of a heartbreaker, unfortunately, but I think it does a good job to show the lack of pen in this tank. So Middleburg, you know the drill. You really want to clear the hill early and not be overly aggressive in town. So I'm the only one at the top of the hill. Let's see how that works out for me. And I'll get into more of the mechanics of the auto-loading system here as we get into a few more battles. But for right now, I am playing conservative using my mistake from the previous game here. And I don't want to rush into a situation where I am outnumbered, because our damage per minute numbers are on the low end of most tanks at this tier. So the heavies and a couple TDs have come up with me, but now you can see the problem is our TD. Look at him. He has actually pushed on forward, and yeah, he's taken out very quickly. They've got at least four guys spotted in town, and I'm trying to make a heavy flank here to see if there's any stragglers on the back end. And again, oops, overly aggressive, and we're going to take a big shot there from the RHM. Thankfully, the Emil, I don't know, lagging out or something, but we'll get into a position here where the RHM can't hit us, but we'll get shots into this Stuart Emil. So you can see here, from the mini map, our team has now pushed into town as we get there. kill shot. Now, I took one shot of HE and I only carry two. So this is going to come into play here on my next one or two exchanges with the RHM. If after I load AP and I switch to HE, you'll see I only have two shells available. So I'm shorting myself the ability to take a shot. We're going to unload and miss all three shots here of AP on the RHM as he's just showing me a little bit of the top of him. But he's going to make the run for it. And you watch here, after I load up, I'm going to switch over to HE and you'll notice I only have two shells loaded. See, two shells. So even though I only managed to get one to go in and forced to reload anyway, just be aware of that. If you don't have those three shells, you're only going to load the number of shells that you have. So, you know, I'm thinking this game's looking pretty good. We are up 4-1 at this point in time, and this Tiger is definitely going to go down very quickly. However, their IS-5 has 1,200 hit points, which is probably more than the rest of my team combined at this point in time. All right, so 3-on-1, and this is the part of the video I wanted to show you the difficulty with the pen numbers on this tank. And you really have to use this mobility, which we know it doesn't have the greatest mobility. IS-5 now has taken out the Emil. I'm trying to come around and look at this. Look at all that red. So yeah, we have to shoot heat at him, make sure we're not getting that in the tracks. And we missed that last shot. Gonna use the rock here to hide behind. I don't want this VK to push. And really, I think probably, you know, watching this back and replay a couple times, I probably should have just pushed with the VK and let him come behind me. But obviously, I'm trying to get into a situation where we can trick the IS-5 into looking one way and shooting with the other way. And so I hear some shots go off. I figure I've got the tank behind me, and here we are. I'm shooting heat into the back of this tank. And I've got to reload, and I just don't want that VK to go down at this point in time. He has to be able to make his shot work. We are reloaded. We're pushing forward. IS-5 does kill him, and that shot goes right, and he gets hidden behind that tank. And so, lack of ability to do damage with AP, having to use heat, and not having the same amount of damage means that we have to shoot that IS-5 that much more. All right, so I'm still in the driver's seat here. I should be able to take a shot from him. Now, here's where I played this one wrong. You can see I'm spotted. I should have just stopped, backed up. I know he's in cap, and I should have just tried to surprise him. But because I thought I can easily get two shots to his one shot, I thought, you know, it didn't really matter. But as you can see, there's that lack of pen. We're out of heat. This is going to be a very costly game. And yeah, we're not going to survive this. Our only hope was to bait a shot and then try to outmaneuver him. And he managed to kill me. So a good play on his part. He used that fountain very well to hide the weak spots on his tank. We did as best we could. I probably should have won that game. But as you can see, there is that lack of pen on this tank coming to fruition. All right, guys, so here we are, bottom tier on Canyon, and look at the difficulty here. Knowing what we know now about the pen on this tank, we've got 50 TP and Emil. Even the Object 704's got good frontal armor. Chimera, Tiger 2. So this is a difficult lineup for a tank like this. However, we do know we've got 9 degrees of gun depression, so let's push on into the middle. Very crucial spot for this map because you're able to try to get eyes on pretty much all of the map, and most effective way to get shots in as well. But watch as this game unfolds. coming up over the top, and hey, that Vickers gets a shot into our track, and we lose 400 hit points for it. So here you got a tier 9 light tank doing twice as much damage per shot as this tank. And I think, to me, that is one of the struggles that I have with the tank is lack of pen and the lack of damage. Once you start getting into those upper tier tanks with the auto loaders that are doing, 300, 350, and you've got 3 shots doing 1,000 damage, it makes a whole heck of a lot of difference than 600 damage in this tank. So Emil here just blowing the game. I mean, coming out sideways, not using his armor, pushing straight into the heart of my team. I just keep him spotted up. Get 2 more shots in and force a reload. And so, this is where that decision making with playing the auto loaders comes in, is you have to decide how soon am I going to be able to unload that last shot or those last 2 shots, and should I go ahead and force the reload now? But the power with the tank obviously is being able to unload 5 seconds of shot and getting 600 damage. RHM, he's YOLOing for it, takes 700 hit points from me, but pays the price. So we've taken 2 shots, we've lost all but 392 hit points. Chimera, well-timed double tap, takes him out. So it's a good team, but I just wanted to use this opportunity to talk about the reloading, forcing those reloads as we watch the 50 TP, who obviously has good armor, coming downhill, giving me that opportunity to shoot down into his armor. And again, no shots on target, so we'll force that reload. And really, I think to play the T69 well does obviously require map awareness and good decision making, as well as proper ammo management, if we want to call it that. Knowing when to reload and when to hold on to that last shot as we get revenge on the Vickers there. 7-0 victory here. And 2,300 damage. That's respectable damage in this tank. Let's see how that shook out. 24,000 credits, level 2. Second on the team, 967. So we got some assistance damage, 500 here from spotting that poor Emil. All right, so final game here. And you can kind of see in this game a little bit more how being able to unload that autoloader really does kind of surprise you at the end of the game and the amount of damage that you have. And so, looking at their lineup here, we've got heavy, medium, light tank, Mashu. We might want to worry about this guy, especially since he's got T69 in his name. He probably plays that a lot. We've got a TD who's going to be sitting in the back most likely, and another heavy. So, looking at their lineup, I think medium chance that they come this way, and maybe not that likely that they all come this way. So you'll see me be a little bit more aggressive than I normally would here as we get the first shot into the AMX 5100 and force that reload. All right, AMX, you wanted to come this way? Come on with it. And sure enough, he is going to. Straight into our auto loaders. And there we go with a full clip finally into a tank. We're in part of that map where if I pull up too high, I might be in line of sight of TD that's, sitting in the normal TD camping spots. So I'm trying to stay as low as possible in these dunes. And I don't really want any part of taking on that predator frontally, not with the little amount of pen that I have. It's got a lot of spaced armor, so heat's not going to help me. So the decision here is to kind of just relocate. Yeah, it's going to be difficult for us to shoot heavies across the map with loss of pen over distance. But it does allow us to obviously conserve our hit points if we stay unspotted.
Enemy armor is damaged. That one didn't go through.
So our guys are valiantly holding town, even though they're outnumbered. Surprised that the T69 is going to run away from that fight. Thought he was going to go straight across cap, but he turned towards me, not knowing that I'm here, obviously. So here he comes. We only have 2 shots. Thankfully, he turns away. We track him in place on a ram. And yeah, T49 on T49. Love there. We pulled up the top of the hill and just watch how fast we lose hit points. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. That was not smart on my part. Okay, so who do they have left? They have Narvin, the Indian, and the TS5 over here in the corner. TS5 is going to go out pretty quickly, it looks like. But I'm just going to hang here with my team and move together. All right, so we've got some action here. Jamie, look at that shot going low. Trying to hide. All right, so we got 1,300 hit point Indian coming at me. My goal here is just basically to unload all 3 shots. He is obviously going to be able to kill me before I can reload. So let's make sure all 3 of these go in. There's 1. There's 2. And there's 3. So just like that, we end up at 3,400 hit points. So as you can see, when you do manage to unload full clips into tanks, these auto loaders are a lot of fun to play. But primarily with the T69, it's a good training tank, really, in that you really have to work on your accuracy of your shots because of your lack of pen. It's a tough tank to play, and it does require a lot of map awareness and making a lot of good decisions throughout the entire game. We had 2 spots there, damage to 6 out of the 7 tanks. So overall, it's a fun tank. Not my favorite auto loader. You know, once you get up to those higher tiers, you're really going to like those tanks. But let this be the kind of the training ground on getting your feet wet with a slower auto loader. And you really have to obviously focus on getting those shots to pen. So hopefully you learned a few tricks here today on this video. If you did and you liked the content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And of course, guys, remember to get educated, not fingered. Littlefinger out.